Hello and welcome back to Redirected. My name is Andrew East, and this is a show where we sit down with celebrities, athletes, entrepreneurs, really anybody who has experienced a pivot or change in life. I call these changes redirections, and at some point or another, we all go through them. And so I wanted to sit down with people who have made it through these changes well in order to, yes, glean their wisdom, but also hear some pretty entertaining stories. And today we are continuing our Forbes 30 Under 30 series, where we talk with young people who are redirecting the future and have visions of a better future, if you will. And so we sit down with Olivia Landau, who, together with her husband, Kyle Simon, has co-founded this pretty spectacular company called Clear Cut Diamonds. And this concept actually originated as a blog with them just providing information on what is really an opaque industry. I don't know if you've ever bought a diamond before, but it's not easy to navigate through. And it's turned into a really spectacular business, and currently have an amazing selection of highly curated engagement ring diamonds where you can buy direct online. And so you go on, they take your hand and walk you through every step of the process. You're matched with an expert, and they really make it a pleasant experience. And so if you want to find out more about Olivia and her business, the Clear Cut Diamond, we'll link information on both down below. But before I jump into it, if you haven't subscribed to the show and given it a rating on whatever platform you're listening on, please do so. It really helps us out. Let's go ahead and jump into this one with Olivia Landau. Olivia, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So I know you just kind of recently got married. What do you at your like year and a half anniversary? Is that right?
Yeah, we actually got married last June, so June 2019 in Italy, which I guess couldn't have happened this year.
What part of Italy?
We got married in Tuscany in a really small town outside of Lucca. My husband, Kyle, his family goes there every summer since he was born, so we kind of always be there.
I'm excited because actually of the interviews I've done, I think you're the only one who also works with their spouse. So I'm excited to get into the details there. But I would love to, if you could start off kind of giving us the context within which you grew up, kind of your foundation, if you will, the abridged version of kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in Miami Beach, Florida. I'm fourth generation in the diamond industry. So my dad's side of the family comes from a long line of diamond cutters and dealers. He's from Antwerp, Belgium, which used to be like the diamond capital of the world. And my mom, she's from Taiwan, and they met and they worked together actually growing up, and they were in the antique jewelry business. So I kind of grew up around diamonds and gemstones in a different capacity, but I was always kind of around it. But I never thought I would go into the business just because they always told me that it was like a dying industry. There was like no future in it, that I should, I was like first generation like American, and I should like go to college and get a corporate job and like live out their like dreams that way. But I went to NYU, and after graduating, I really wasn't super passionate about, sorry about that, anything in particular. I was always kind of interested in jewelry and just wanted to extend schooling a little bit, so convinced them to let me go to G.I.A, which was the Gemological Institute of America. There was a campus here in New York, and it was like a 6-month program to become a gemologist. So they agreed, and once I went there, I really fell in love with diamonds and gemstones. It was kind of, I think, in my blood all along. And while I was there, I also met my now husband and co-founder, Kyle. So it all kind of worked out. I started working at Tiffany on the engagement floor right after school. And Kyle comes from a really different background in the diamond space. He had started a fair trade diamond mining company in Sierra Leone. And his investors at that time sent him to G.I.A just to learn more about the actual diamond aspect. So he went back to Africa, and we were long distance while I was working at Tiffany. That's where I fell in love with engagement rings, bridal jewelry specifically, and wanted to get my hands, have more hands-on experience and not so much just sales. So I started working at a large diamond wholesaler at that time. At the same time, the Ebola epidemic was going on in West Africa. So Kyle was kind of forced to come back. His operation was halted in Africa, and he decided to go to business school at Columbia here in New York. And at that time, it was really strange. There was this weird phenomenon where all of his classmates wanted to get engaged around the same time, and they knew he had worked in the jewelry space in some capacity, and like would always be like, hey, do you like know a guy that can help me get a good deal on a ring? And at the time I was in the wholesale industry, so I was that guy. So I would work with a lot of our friends, his classmates, to, educate them, help pick out their diamond, and create a custom ring. From there, I kind of realized that most people don't know the first thing about buying a diamond. So I decided to start the Clear Cut. It was January of 2016, just as an educational blog for like our friends to read about, the do's and don'ts of buying a diamond before coming to see me. And then I just started posting some of the designs on Instagram, and that's where it kind of took off. And strangers were following the account, DMing me, asking if I could help make their rings. And it turned into this kind of side hustle. And at the time I was a gemologist elsewhere, but I was still trying to balance, making these custom rings on the side. And I was running back and forth to the diamond district, like before work, after work, during lunch. And it was just unsustainable. And Kyle is, an entrepreneur at heart, and he was graduating from business school at this time. And he was like, I see an opportunity. Maybe we should quit our jobs and just try doing the Clear Cut full time, which I thought was kind of crazy, and so did our parents. But I agreed to quit my job if we got accepted to an accelerator program, because I thought we really needed, just like a little extra help, or I wanted some training and some network. So we applied to TechStars in New York, which is a tech accelerator. I didn't think we would get in because we weren't technically a tech company, but we had some traction and we did get in, and I had to make good on my promise. So we quit our jobs and started doing the Clear Cut full time January of 2018.
Wow.
And since then we've expanded just beyond just custom engagement rings. We have a fine jewelry collection as well.
Can I ask you, so my knowledge of the industry, pardon me for my ignorance, Olivia, is very small. What do you do as a gemologist?
So it's a super niche. You're basically an expert in diamonds and gemstones. So you can grade diamonds. You know how there's like color and clarity, the 4 Ps. You can grade a diamond, and you can also identify gemstones. So what they are, if they're natural, if they're treated, all of those types of things.
Why do you love it so much? I'm curious.
I was like naturally kind of good at it, so I thought like I liked it because I caught on to it pretty quickly. But I also just love our specific job because I get to work with really happy couples at a big moment in their life, and I get to be play a small part, a small role in like this really significant like proposal and like the start of their lives. So it's really fun to get to work with clients and make such a big impact, and it's a lot of responsibility too, but getting those photos of like their proposal back and saying that everything went perfectly, that's like the best part.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your parents thought it was a dying industry. You mentioned Kyle, your husband, started a fair trade diamond mining business. Could you give me kind of the high level view of the industry as is, and a couple of these problems that you've touched on?
Yeah, so I would say I think my parents thought it was a dying industry just because the way the industry that they were used to and how it worked with our parents' generation or whatnot of purchasing diamonds is just completely changed with our generation, because we are just so much more informed and so much more comfortable buying online. So before, you would just either go to a retail store and buy something like blindly overpriced just because that's what was available at that time, or you would go to the diamond district, and it was very opaque. You didn't really know how much things like should be or what qualities should be. Like you would just trust someone. So we're a lot more informed in the way we shop. I think back in the day, people didn't want to be as transparent with information, pricing, quality, all of that. And that's something like in our ethos we try to educate people completely for free and, make them an empowered purchaser no matter like where they end up purchasing, because we think the more information you have, the more informed of a decision you can make. And also, people don't want to just have something cookie cutter that's just sold, out of a glass case. Like, everyone is on Instagram or online and has like inspiration and wants to make this, it is a big purchase. So they want to make it, special and unique to them. So the aspect of creating like a custom ring is really intriguing. So I think it was just, because our clients are of the same generation as us and we understand the end user well, we knew how to, speak the same language and like cater to their specific needs, which I think, a lot of the diamond industry is dominated by, older men that might not be connecting to the client, which is a younger woman really at this time.
Yeah, I actually do feel like every time I've ever walked into a jewelry store, it's like an old white dude that meets me there.
Yeah, it's like, and there's always like this like icky perception of there being like a lot of pressure to purchase and like negotiations, and it's just like an uncomfortable shopping experience that like it shouldn't be that way if it's one of like the most expensive pieces that you're going to purchase and like one of the most significant pieces of jewelry that you're going to buy. It should be like a special, happy, like easy experience.
Can you give me the sales pitch? I was actually talking to my wife, Sean, about this. Of like, I was saying, Sean, there's seems to be decent alternatives to like real diamonds, which again kind of have the perspective or perception of being higher priced, etc. Give me like what do you find so valuable about the diamond or the ring that you're providing?
So like what is the benefit of it, like a natural diamond versus like a lab grown or simulant?
Yeah.
So for hundreds of years they've been lab grown gemstones like sapphires, emeralds, things like that, and they've kind of just created their own category. The whole reason why you're investing in this, natural diamond or this special gemstone is because of its rarity, and longevity. So it's something that will like hold its value, something that you can pass down from generation to generation. It was created in the earth over billions of years, which is like so special and cool. Versus, something that might have the same material, but was created in a laboratory in Silicon Valley in 2 weeks. So, and doesn't have any inherent value, but you might want to wear it just so it looks like you have the natural. I kind of equate it to, you could buy like a knockoff designer bag made of like the same leather that looks the same to the average person, but there's no like real like value in like holding it for a long time or reselling it or something like that.
Wow, well done. I just had to make sure that my wife doesn't listen to this episode. So I was reading the story, I think it was in the New York Times, of how you met your husband. You offered to tutor him. That's a pretty slick way of kind of getting in the door there, Olivia.
I stalked him. I was in one class and he was in the other, and we'd have like the same break times in gem school. There's not a lot of people in gem school, so he definitely caught my eye. But he would always like look at me and not come and talk to me. So one day I just like followed him home on the subway and was like, oh, like I already took the class that you're in and I'm really good at it. So like we can like hang out after school one day.
Nice. Was it obvious? Was there any hesitation in starting a company together?
Yes, there was a lot of hesitation. Especially like I mentioned, my parents had a company together and they're no longer married. So they were always like, don't start a company with your significant other. It's a big mistake. So I was really hesitant, especially because when we started it, we weren't even engaged. We were just dating. So everyone was like, don't do it. But I think that it just depends on the couple, right? We have really different skill sets, so we rarely step on each other's toes. I really respect what he does in our business and, his skill set, and he really respects what I do. And so I think that balance works well.
Nice. And you talked about quitting your job. Was that, was that something where you said, hey, I made a commitment that if we got into an accelerator, I was going to do it. And so it was like an easy decision, or was there still a lot of hesitation?
There was still a lot of hesitation just because I didn't know what was going to happen after I had a good job. It was, and we needed someone to be working. We both, starting a company together, like no one was really making money. So
Yeah.
that aspect was really scary, and not knowing like when or if it would be successful. So I felt comfortable because I had like built up a little bit of savings, and I was like, well, try it for a year and just see. And Kyle was very convincing. He was like, we're young, like this is the time to do it. We don't have kids. Like, let's just like try it. If it doesn't work, we can always get another job. And I was like, okay, fine. But it was definitely the scariest thing I've ever done.
And so you guys is this your third year into this now?
It will be our third year. So we
Okay.
started in 2018. So it'll be January would be year 3.
When you look back, I mean, from my understanding, you guys are growing like bonkers. Was there one pivotal moment where it was like, oh, we got featured in this collection or on this article, or like we met this person and hired them on our team? Like, was there one kind of turning point to it being a struggling kind of thing, as all startups are, to really catching fire?
Yeah, so I would say early on, so it was like May of the year we started. We got picked up in an article in Business Insider, and I think it went like viral because we did more sales like that month than we did like since 2016 before that, and like more and more people were hearing about us. So we were like, whoa, press really does make a difference, and like the right kind of business article. It was kind of like the perfect timing because we were just graduating from our accelerator too, and just starting to go really like on our own in operations. So I think that was like a significant like turning point where I was like, okay, like this could work. And we had a lot more reach beyond like our own personal network, beyond just social media. It like got to people who would otherwise have never heard of us.
Yeah. And so you started off just as engagement rings, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you find that starting, it seems like it's super niche, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think of diamonds and it's like, oh, I guess that could be, again, I'm ignorant, but it could be an engagement ring, or it could just be a gift, I don't know, whatever. But did you find that you starting off with such a fine focus was beneficial?
I think so, because actually like lots and lots of people get engaged every year. I think like 2 million people get like married in the US every year. So people are always looking for a ring. And like I said, the experience elsewhere isn't ideal. So people are always looking for like different avenues. So I think being so focused and so niche like really did help us, because when you think of where should I get my engagement ring, we want you to think of, oh, the clear cut. And we also believe that the engagement ring is kind of like the gateway drug to the rest of your expensive, like fine jewelry purchases. Like we realized soon after, people would come back for wedding bands, and then soon it would be the anniversary gift and then the push present. So to have that trust and that initial, big purchase, hopefully we could be the jeweler for life for this generation.
Mm. I did not get my wife as nice of a push present as a diamond. So now you're making me regret thinking I made bad decisions. But what are the big? We'll just have to have another kid, I guess. But so Clearcut's value proposition is that you do a lot of education. Is the price negotiation? Does that exist on your website?
So basically what we do is all of our engagement rings are custom made. So it's a very different process than if you were just to go to a store. We make sure everyone has a initial phone consultation with one of our gemologists, just so we have an idea of their preferences, their price point, understand their needs. And then from there, we don't have an inventory that we try to push. We partner with some of the largest diamond manufacturers, cutters here and overseas. And what we'll do is handpick a selection of diamonds specifically for each client. Our team of gemologists will pre-scan and have eyes on each of the diamonds, look at them in person and make sure they're in a quality we stand behind before we present them to the client. And then from there, we just get feedback, continue to curate, narrow down until we find the diamond that they love. And from there, create a custom ring around that.
Wow.
And then we ship it wherever our client is. So it's kind of like a concierge service. You have like a one-on-one relationship with your gemologist and really work together from start to finish. Price-wise, we're really competitive. I would say none of our pricing is negotiable because we give our best price right off the bat because we want to be transparent and not like sketchy or opaque. So I think the value proposition you're getting in terms of like the customer service, the expertise, and just the quality and craftsmanship is definitely something that would be very challenging to find elsewhere.
Wow. And what are the biggest like points of hesitation for customers? Is it like, oh, you're gonna mail me a ring? Like, or what are some hesitations?
I would say once you can get over the idea of not being able to physically see the diamond or ring in person before it gets shipped to you, that's probably a big hurdle. We do have a showroom in New York that we just started having in-person appointments in again, because we weren't doing that for a while because of COVID. But most of our clients, 90% of our clients, are completely remote. So I would say, sometimes it depends on the person. Some people don't feel comfortable not being able to see it, and some people trust our expertise and our eyes for them along the way. So far, we haven't had any problems.
And what's like the timeline start to finish when I start with the consultation?
I would say it takes a week to have your initial selection, and then from there it's kind of a variable amount of time until we find the right one. So I'd say like 1 to 3 weeks to pick the diamond, and then 3 to 5 weeks to create the ring, depending on the design.
Wow. And I know Clearcut has some exciting things around the corner. Could you fill us in?
Yeah. So, like I said, we were always really remote focused. A lot of our clients are completely remote. So we've been working this whole year to create a special software to enhance that remote client experience on the front end for our customers all over the world, and then also help our gemologists on the back end be as efficient and helpful as possible. So that will be hopefully launching Q1 of 2021. And also we, in January of 2019, we launched our Clearcut collection, which is our made to order fine jewelry collection that we are always adding on to with our custom designs. And we just today launched our holiday collection for 2020. So I'm really excited about some of those pieces.
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome. What are your goals with the business?
Our goal, you know how in like a lot of towns you have like that mom and pop jewelry store that, your family for generations goes there to buy like every single gift, any, time there's like an anniversary, a big like occasion. We want to be that for everyone online. So being like this generation's jeweler for life. So when you think of buying like a significant like investment piece of jewelry to commemorate like a big occasion, like we are the go-to for that. So wow. That is our goal.
And what do you love most about what you do, Olivia?
I think I love, working with our couples. Like they bring so much joy every single day to be able to help them and guide them from picking out the diamond to creating a custom ring to finally getting like their images. And we do these features called Clearcut Couples, which are these little stories that we feature on our blog and our Instagram about each of our couples' proposal stories and like how they happened and how they met. Seeing that full circle and being able to play a part in that is like so rewarding. And I couldn't think of like a better job to do. And getting to play with diamonds.
That's pretty awesome. When you look back on your experience, going from NYU to working at Tiffany's to then changing careers and starting this business, what are 3 lessons that you've either learned or maybe someone shared them to you that you found super valuable?
I would say one thing I learned in when we were in Techstars in that accelerator was to do more faster. So it's kind of like don't let perfection kind of stall you from doing things. Like continue to put things out. And if you're not embarrassed by your launch, that means you kind of waited too long. And then just get feedback and iterate, and don't just wait on everything being perfect, because it will never be, and that's okay. As long as you're getting like incrementally better and learning. I think that's something that's really valuable, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle and wait to have everything like lined up and have everything perfect and have their website perfect before they put anything out in the world. And I think that the quicker you can put something out and the more feedback you can get and the quicker you can iterate, that's always really helpful. So that's something I learned that we still do. Another thing would be, I would say, to hire slow and fire fast. Take your time with your team and make sure it is the right fit. But if it isn't, don't wait too long to make changes. Yeah.
How big is your team at the Clearcut?
Right now we're 8, 9.
Wow.
7 in-house, 2 remote.
Have you enjoyed the growth process of your business?
Yes, it's been very exciting to see, but it comes with a lot of challenges too, right? So I think like each part of your business, there's like different challenges. When we're starting, we're like, is this going to work? How are we going to get people to find out about us? Now it's like, how do I manage people properly?
Yeah.
And feel like I'm a good, a manager, operations person, which I like before was just trying to like get sales. So now it's like the scaling process, which has its own unique set of challenges.
Yeah. Well, Olivia, you've built something amazing, and it's fun that you've done it with your husband. So congrats on everything. Honored that you took the time to sit down with us, and I'm going to check out the holiday collection. I'll for sure, the push present thing now has just rocked my world. So appreciate that. But yeah, it was a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm just curious in general, what is it like working with your spouse?
Really, I mean, we've gotten better at it. I think it's taken a lot of practice, but at first, especially early on in a marriage, probably like the first year, like we didn't even know how to communicate personally. And then we were also trying to like do business together. And so it was like problems would kind of compound, whereas like, the more problems that come in, it just exaggerates the ones that have already been there. And so we've gotten way, way better at just being really honest with each other, but sharing that with like, a good bit of grace, I guess you could say. So like, we're not being brutally honest. It's just like, hey, I can't do that right now. I'm sorry. Like that's not going to work. Things like that. So you got any tips for me though?
Do you ever turn it off? Like, do you have like, or do you always talk about work? Do you like have a cutoff time?
That's
what I struggle with, because we are like constantly talking about work, like till like the second we like lay in bed and go to sleep. So
yeah, it's so hard. I think earlier on, so we're like 5 years into our like working relationship, I guess. And 4 or 5. And so early on, like when we were growing the business, it was nonstop. But then now that we have a kid, like that kind of forces you to really put your focus elsewhere. So I'm thankful for that in that sense, but it's come at a cost of us slowing down our business growth. Does that make sense?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's something we always talk about too. Like, when is like a kid something that we are comfortable like introducing to this crazy dynamic?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I think just being on the same page and, making sure that you discuss not all the possibilities of what things could pan out to be, but some of them at least, and have put thought into it.
Yeah, like communication is key, and like mutual respect, I think.
100%. But
yeah.
Well, I like that part of the conversation. Thank you for the question, Olivia.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I answered all the questions, so I was just like
yeah. Well, let us know if there's ever anything we do to help you. And I look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, I look forward to it too. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.